What's up, tribe? How we guys doing? We are back for Ambitions is back. So this is gonna be Ambitions season 1. We are still in season 1, episode 12, because it looks like they're gonna do like a part, like this is like the extended of season 1. So we know where we left off at the, I guess, mid-season finale or whatever. Senior's dead. Joaquin has been kidnapped. And oh shoot, y'all know how I'm with names. They didn't gave me time to forget these people's name. Essence Atkins' character, Lord, she done walked in on Robin Givens and her husband, honey. So we picked this up with Amara. There we go. Amara and her husband talking, and he's telling her, look, it is not what it looked like. You know how Stephanie is. Stephanie is, you know what Stephanie do. He said, I was in the bathroom. I thought she was gone. I was about to jump in the shower. While I was in the bathroom getting ready for my shower, she done stripped down and put the bathrobe on. Now, I don't believe that he did anything with that woman, but that story was a little too... How you think somebody left your hotel room? Either they left or they didn't. And let's not forget the fact that you still invited her up, regardless of what really went down. You invited that woman into your hotel room. And she asked him, she said, would you have slept with her? And he said, I thought about it. I mean, he told her the truth. He said, I thought about it. She said, well, what stopped you? Now, mind you, I'm combining two different conversations because I'm going to just go on and knock this out. He said, well, she said, well, what made you stop? And he said, you. You know, he said, you. He said, even with everything that you've done, you know, I love you, you know, and... She said, well, you know, you and Stephanie had something, you know, maybe you got mad at me and you wanted that old thing back. He said, look, I love Stephanie as much as a 22-year-old boy can love somebody, but you are the only woman that I have ever loved. And she said, well, you're the only man I've ever loved. And then they kissed. So in my mind, I'm thinking they back together, right? I'm thinking all is good. I mean, you know, it is what it is, but I guess it just ain't that easy. We'll get back to them. So... then we go back to Bella's apartment. She's looking for Joaquin. Now, remember, we left off while she was getting it in with the dude that she thought was from the company, Bella Rosa, I guess. What was it called, y'all? But y'all know what I'm talking about. They done came and kidnapped Joaquin, honey. So she in the afterglow, old boy done told her he on his way to Brazil. He got this last minute call. He got to run out the country to Brazil. And she realizes that the baby gone. So, of course, the first thing she does is call up his daddy, a.k.a. the mayor. And, but the mayor, we back over at Thelma's place. Daddy's dead. You know, Brielle is there. Is that the child name? She there crying. That's not her name. I know that's not her name. I'm going to get it. You see the names are coming back to me as I start talking. She there crying, and, you know, he shows up, and they comfort each other, and they're trying to say that it was a robbery because all his jewelry was gone, the engagement ring, and his wallet. But they both know what it is. They know it's Greg Peters. They don't know who, what, when, where, how, but they know it was Greg Peters. You know what I'm saying? And the mayor's like, look, you gonna put all the manpower you have into finding out who killed my father. And that's when he gets the phone call from old girl to come over because Joaquin is gone. And so he rushes over there, and he thinks it's all connected too, but he's like, look, you know, do you have any enemies? Like, who would steal your child? Like, who would steal the baby? Like, what's really good? And of course, she doesn't tell him that she was really in the other room getting it in, because he was like, how did you not hear somebody come in here and steal your child? But because she had that after sex coma. You know what I'm saying? She was knocked out, honey. Now, let's also remember, we forgot that the mayor's mistress, well, his other mistress, his dominatrix, a.k.a. chief of staff, remember, he found her unconscious in the dungeon, and they, you know, his security team then took care of her. They done put her in her car and made an anonymous phone call to the police. So she's alive. She's in the hospital though, but she's alive. So, you know, what I love is that they picked it up immediately. They didn't drag none of this out. They picked up exactly where we left off so we could figure out what's what, who's who, and what's going on. Now, Robin Givens sachets her happy tail on down to Thelma's place with these crocodile tears talking about how sorry she is about what happened to Senior. And, you know, it's on the tip of my tongue, y'all. I'm going to get it. And Dale. See, I knew I was going to get it. Isn't that it? And Dale. That still don't sound right. I'm going to get the girl name. And she, at first, I felt like she was kind of believing, like, you know, she was kind of believing the hype. But she, you know, she let Stephanie do her thing. She was like, did you call the kids? Did you call the police? You know, like, you let them know what's going on with their grandfather. Like, she got all the business out the way. And then she basically let that woman know, look, you're the reason why my father's dead. So don't come down here with your little crocodile tears, playing like you care about what's really good, you know, because you don't. At the end of the day, you really don't. Now, Garrett, that's shown up, the councilman that Andale was dating. And remember, they were off, you know, they were going through their thing. He got mad at her, and then there was this other woman that showed up at the dinner party, at the little, not the dinner party, but at the thing, that was flirting with him. So they having their little moment, but he did show up, and of course, at first, she giving him a hard time, like, you know, thank you for coming by, I appreciate it, you can go. And he was like, I'm here for you. I'm here to make sure that you are okay. I'm here to check on you. Like, don't do that. So, should I just go ahead and, I'm going to just go on and get him out the way, y'all. I'm just, because it's a lot going on, so I'm going to just try to get the easy stuff on out the way, right? So he ends up coming back to talk to Andale. And, you know, Andale's friend, Bella's mom, you know, she saw him walk in the door, and she was like, don't come in, this ain't the time for it. And they sort of blew it off, but, you know, him and old girl, they was all, you know, he was calling her baby again, and they were kind of having a moment, and she was laughing, and she said, you know, and I find this to be true with grief, especially when it's a close family member. It's like when you smile or when you're happy or when you laugh, it's almost like you feel like you're betraying their memory, like, I shouldn't be happy right now. And so they crack a couple of jokes, and she kind of says that to him, and he said, look, your father would want you to be happy. Like, don't do that. Don't cut yourself off. You know, you have a great sense of humor, and your father would want you to move on. You know, he'd want you to live on. And then she says, okay, well, tell me what you and old girl was talking about. What when you came in here, she was like, this ain't the time. This not the time for what? What's going on? Well, he had an interview earlier in the day, and basically in the interview, he let it be known that he's interested in running for mayor. So Andale was like, are you serious right now? Like, you're coming over here acting like you concerned about my well-being and about my father dying, and you really just getting yourself together, getting ready to run for mayor. Like, get up out of here. Like, we done. Like, that's a wrap. Don't come over here pretending like you really care about me, and all the while you trying to, you know, you cozying up, you know, trying to take my brother's spot. Now, this is what I'm going to say about that. It wasn't clear to you from the very beginning that he was trying to be mayor. Like, from the very beginning, it was clear that this man wanted to be mayor. That he wanted the mayor spot. You know, he was always his biggest opposition, questioning him, trying to help with an investigation against him. Like, it just so happened that he sort of ran into you and fell in love. You know what I mean? But of course, they kept telling her that he's using you to get to the mayor. And so now she feels like everybody was right. Like, you were just using me to get to my brother. And now that you're talking about running for mayor, you know, I believe everybody what they said. And my thing is, I think he really cares about her. I don't think he planned to fall in love with her, but he did. And she just happened to be the mayor's sister. But that ain't going to stop him from his political aspirations. So there's clearly going to be a decision. Right now, you know, she mad and in her feelings, but there'll be a decision that needs to be made later on because she cares about him too. You know, she really does. Now, while all that's going on, the chief of staff is down to the hospital, and the nurse walks up in there, and as soon as she sees this woman, she recognizes that this is the same woman that already tried to kill her. Now, it's Greg Peterson's cousin from, where's she from? Serbia? She is the one that tried to kill the chief of staff, right? And she came up in the hospital to finish the job. She had this little syringe. And just at that moment, Amara shows up. Because Amara, while her and her husband was getting ready to reconcile, and they talking about how much they love each other, honey, she got a phone call from the office. You know, there's a time to just pretend like your phone was dead. You know what I mean? You and your husband are on the verge of divorce. You done cheated. You think he done cheated. Y'all are having a moment. Y'all are professing y'all love for each other. Y'all look like in 5 more minutes, y'all have probably been naked on that couch. Sometimes you just got to pretend like you didn't hear the phone ring for about 30 minutes. That's how I feel like she should have handled that. I'm not saying don't return the call. I'm just going to say pretend like you was taking a little cat nap. Give yourself about 20, 30 minutes to let the moment pass. You know what I'm saying? And about another 15 to 20 minutes, that moment would have passed one way or the other. But for you to take a phone call in the middle of y'all trying to figure this whole thing out. Anyway, back to the hospital. Just at that moment that the woman about to stick that syringe up in her IV, Amara shows up. And she says, oh, no problem. You know, Amara says, can I have some privacy? She said, no problem. You know, I'll be back in a few minutes to take your blood pressure. So while Amara is talking to her, and the woman ain't telling Amara nothing. She's talking to her, trying to, you know, get some information from her. Amara ain't giving the woman nothing. And, I mean, I'm sorry, not Amara. The chief of staff is not giving Amara anything. And while they're having this conversation, the real nurse showed up and said, oh, I'm sorry to disturb you. I just got to take her blood pressure real quick. And Amara says, well, wait a minute. A nurse was just in here to take her blood pressure. She said, I am the only nurse on duty. I am her only nurse right now, so I don't know who that could be. And that's when Amara realizes that, okay, something ain't right here. And she immediately puts an FBI detail on her. Because remember, she's a part of this investigation. They haven't convinced her to flip yet, but well on her way. Oh, Lord. Down to the city hall. The mayor's having a press conference talking about his father passing away, how good of a man his father was, and asking for, you know, privacy in this moment of bereavement for the family. Him and Stephanie go behind closed doors, and of course Stephanie is playing the dutiful wife role, and you know he's kind of going along with it, but you know. It ain't no affection or anything there. And so she's like, well, where were you? I tried to call you last night. I went by the Thelma's place. You weren't there. And, you know, of course, he made up some lies. Oh, I was down to the morgue. Had to see my dad one last time. And then I came here and crashed. So my thing is, well, where did you sleep? If you didn't go home, did you stay at Bella's? You know what I'm saying? Did y'all commiserate over the baby being gone? What's really good? But neither here nor there. And he lets her know that Greg Peters was the one that did it. Like, he lets her know that he knows or thinks it's Greg Peters. And they have a conversation about that. But, of course, she's like, look, you know, I loved, you know, Senior. And you know, this isn't, we just get through it together, you know, blah, blah, blah. So she leaves, and then his phone rings. And it's the kidnappers. They want $1 million. He tries to trace the call, but of course he didn't. They didn't stay on the phone long enough for him to be able to trace the call. And but they want $1 million. So, you know, the good thing is the baby's still alive and everything. But the bad news is they still don't know who had anything to do with this. They still don't know who's doing it. Now back down to Thelma's place, I really feel like Andell ain't right, y'all. But we just gonna roll with it. You know what we do over here on this channel. We just gonna roll with it. She's cleaning her daddy rifle, and Dale shows up with some flowers, and you know, she convinces her to put the rifle down, honey, because you know, when you walk into a room and she had this far off look cleaning that shotgun, it wasn't just a regular gun, it was that shotgun that Senior used to always have at the ready, you know. And you know, she is there to extend her condolences, and they talk for a few minutes, and you know, again, she has a lot of guilt because she feels like her father was killed over this project, and had she just taken the money, everything would be okay. If she had just agreed to take the money and go along with the deal, that her father would still be alive, you know, and at the end of the day, there really is no guarantee of how that whole situation would have turned out. So there's really no need for her to carry that guilt. Now, while they're having this conversation, here comes Stephanie, little raggedy ass, coming up in there, trying to extend her daggone condolences. And Dale rolls out. And Dale's like, look, if I stay here, I'm going to catch a case, because she still got that shotgun sitting there, honey. So she takes the shotgun and says, look, I got to get out of here, because if I stay here, I'm going to catch a case. So then her and Stephanie have this moment. And Stephanie basically, Amara basically let Stephanie know, look, my husband told me what really went down. It ain't nothing happened. Because, of course, Stephanie tried to act like they had this night of wild, passionate sex. And she was like, go on, cut the crap, child. Cut the crap. I know ain't nothing go down between you and my husband. Stop playing. She said, oh, is that what he told you? Oh, my goodness. She said, well, he invited me to his hotel room, which means that he wanted me. So she sort of conceded that the sex didn't happen, but that the fact that he invited her to the room meant that he wanted her. And Amara lets her know, she said, look, baby, I'm going to get rid of you in a whole nother way, because you are a part of this whole federal investigation, and I'm going to take you down. And Robin Givens lets her know, she said, better women than you have tried and failed. The grave that you are digging for yourself, you're going to find yourself rotting in it. Amara was like, yeah, all right, whatever. And she rolls out, but you can see Stephanie was shook. Stephanie was shook, honey. Like, oh my goodness, I got this federal investigation. You know, she ain't falling for the okie doke. Now, back over to Bella's apartment, honey. The woman that she's been working with, the model. Now, I thought this was her sister. Now, I don't know if it's like her blood sister. Now, I don't remember, to be honest with y'all. That was earlier this season. But she comes over and says, remember, we were supposed to have a fitting, you know, and of course she tells her about Joaquin being gone and everything. I knew something was fishy with this woman off the break, because Bella was saying, maybe I should call the police, right? Maybe I should call the police. And she says, no, don't. If the kidnapper said don't call the police, then you don't call the police. And she said, well, Evan thinks that too. Evan is the mayor, aka the mayor. And she said, well, for once me and Evan agree on something, you don't need to call the police. You just do what the kidnappers tell you to do. And I knew right then and there, I said, she got something to do with this. Who gonna tell you not to call the police? I said, she got something to do with this. So, and she's there all the time, because they sold her then. And then there was another scene where she was there when, I want to say Evan came by to give her an update on the kidnappers calling or whatever, right? And then they found out, Evan said, look, I can't lie to you. I just got a phone call about a little boy, a body being found that is around the same age as Joaquin. So he takes off to go see if it's Joaquin. She leaves. Next thing you know, we see Joaquin at a hotel room with some dude, little no-tell motel, playing a video game with some dude, some little scraggly dude. If we saw him last season, I don't remember. So if you put it in the comments if that's a face we've seen before. Because I couldn't tell if he's the dude that had seduced Bella, but he don't look like the same guy. But y'all let me know in the comments if it's him. Next thing you know, there's a knock at the door. He opened the door, and who it is? It's old girl. And I said, I knew she had something to do with this. Now, I don't know if she's connected to somebody else, or she just she figured out that he was the mayor's son and thought she could blackmail and get some money out of it. I don't know. Because the kidnappers know that Joaquin is the mayor's son. So this is turning out to be the worst kept secret in Atlanta. It seemed like everybody knows except for Stephanie. And hell, Stephanie probably knows. She just don't care. The mayor rose up on Greg Peters, right? And Greg Peters is like, look, I did not shoot your daddy. You know I didn't shoot your father. If, you know, I wouldn't be that sloppy. You know what I mean? Like, that's not even my stilo. That's not even how I move. And then they searched his apartment, and, you know, his bodyguards was like, he's not here, no sign of him. And so Greg Peters was like, no sign of who? Who you looking for? So they were looking for Joaquin. They weren't really... I mean, he thinks Greg Peters killed his father, but he also thought that Greg Peters had taken Joaquin. And he said, well, you know, I wouldn't expect him to keep him here anyway. And they rolled out. But now Greg Peters kind of got his, you know, his antenna up, sort of like, like, it's more going on here than just him looking for him thinking I killed his father-in-law. Now, where do I want to go next? Child. Okay, I'll go there next. So now Amara is home. She come home. She kicking her heels off. She done had a long day of work, honey. And the refrigerator is sitting open. And so, of course, she automatically goes on guard. She grabs a kitchen knife. There's somebody coming down the steps. And it's their daughter. Now, remember, their daughter's away at boarding school. She didn't come home talking about she quit school because the boyfriend done broke up with her. Now, if you remember that episode last season when she was dating the white boy with the blue hair and they came down for the punk rock concert or whatever. Do they still call it punk rock? Did I just sound old just now? Do they call it punk rock anymore? Anyway. But came down for the concert. Well, come to find out, the boy done dumped her. She is in her feelings. She is embarrassed. He said he done blocked her on all of his social media and took down all the pictures and everything. And, you know, how could he do this to her? And she's the laughingstock of campus and she is not going back to school. And they were like, the hell? The hell? We done paid all this money for you to go to this fancy boarding school. You gonna take your happy, heartbroken ass back to school and you gonna do what you have to do. Like, she ain't even in college. So they said, look, you can stay here for a day or two and get your mind right. And then you gonna take your happy ass back to school. So after she leaves, she's not a great actress, okay? Work with her, because that scene was horrible, y'all. Now, you know, her part of the scene. But anyway, she stomps out and runs up the steps. And, you know, Amara's like, thank you, I appreciate us being on the same page. And he said, yeah, well, you know, we got to get her back. And so he said, I don't think she could handle knowing that we are not living in the same house right now. So until she goes back to school, I'm going to stay here. And, well, knowing that we're separated. And she said, is that what it is? We're separated? He was like, I don't know what the hell we are right now. And so she, but he says he's going to stay there, you know, until, so it's hope. It's hope, honey. It's hope. But like I said, had you not answered the phone when they called you about the chief of staff woman being in the hospital, you might know where you and your husband stand, because you probably, anyway, moving on. Evan finally makes it down to the hospital to visit his chief of staff and finds out that she's got the police detail and all that good stuff, and finds out that somebody is trying to kill her and that they tried to come to the hospital to kill her. And he basically talks in code, but in his code, he letting her know, look, I got your back. Don't say nothing. Keep your mouth shut and we'll be all right, which is basically what he said to her, you know. So, next thing you know, Stephanie done showed her tail up down to Greg Peters' apartment. And who is down at Greg Peters' apartment but his crazy-ass cousin. And she is like, oh, it's so nice to meet you, Miss Stephanie. And she pretty much lets Stephanie know that her and Greg are kissing cousins, honey. And, you know, that she was, you know, that she's the reason why, you know, my cousin was so infatuated with you, that you're the reason why this deal fell through, and I'm here to clean up his dirty work, and I won't be sidetracked by a nice piece of tail, you know. And Stephanie being Stephanie, you know, she ain't back down either. Stephanie was giving as good as she gets, honey. And then Greg Peters shows up. Greg Peters ends up putting his cousin up out the apartment. And he tells Stephanie, look, don't be making no unannounced visits. He said, I gotta get my cousin up out of here, okay? She crazy. Don't mess with her. Cause I know you think you a bad bitch, but she is worse. She'll kill you and leave you bloody in the street, okay? And of course Stephanie ain't gonna take heed to it, cause Stephanie think that she the baddest you know what up out here. Now, Greg Peters did have a conversation with his cousin, and his cousin basically admitted that she killed Senior. And that she was going to be there until she finished doing what she had to do. I done killed Senior. I'm trying to kill the chief of staff. And I'm going to take care of whatever I need to take care of to secure this deal. Because you failed. And I'm here to clean up your mess. So we do know that Senior, we've got confirmation now as to how Senior, how this is connected. I mean, we knew Greg Peters was involved, but we ain't know, you know. Anyway, we know who killed Senior, or at least who's in charge of Senior being killed. And honestly, y'all, that's pretty much what it is, okay? So we'll pick up next week and we'll see how the chips all fall down. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.